Absolutely a fantastic chapter. We just got what I think a lot of people would agree is the best backstory and kind of like story arc layout so far in the series. I did enjoy Hermits, and there's a lot of good stuff, a lot of good potential coming up, obviously with Draken Joe and Jin. I have a lot of hopes for Jin. I don't think he doesn't drop the ball on that one. But the Valkyrie Homura story, I think, really pulled out better because of all the way it seemed like we were leading up to reunion, and especially in chapter 51, where at the end of it, it looks like that Valkyrie is smiling over Homura's entrance, and then we found out last chapter that was just the way she was when her core stopped and she died. And this chapter kind of just starts out exactly where it left off, and all the characters are they're looking in shock onto Valkyrie's just completely like mangled, parts scrapped, and like just sword still in the ground, like robot corpse. And from that, that's obviously gonna like mess up Homura a lot, because she was really looking forward to just meeting up with her teacher again, just seeing her, just trying to figure out what exactly what exactly she's been up to, what exactly has been going on with her that would lead her into this scenario, and why she left her. And from that, she's just trying to figure out what they could do to fix her, and the fact that she's obviously not a human or any form of like living alien. She's actually a android that maybe Wise can fix her, or maybe Sister can. But Pino goes on to say essentially their robot core is pretty much like their heart or their brain, and once it's done, they're done. They're pretty much dead, and so she's not going to get to see her master at any point, which was just extremely, extremely heartbreaking for Homura, who's been this character. She's been very odd, but very optimistic, a very lighthearted, fun character, and now we just see her completely broken. And it doesn't look like normally, like if it was she was just left to her own devices, that she would be able to recover. She looks really depressed, just completely beat up over everything. And we get some good stuff in the back, because you have all these characters who are talking about, they're pretty much talking about, oh yeah, since then we've become, we pledged our loyalty to Valkyrie after she saved us, and they're explaining how once Rebecca asked why they didn't move her body from that spot, they just kind of just kept it there, and they explained it's pretty much a symbol. It's a symbol of appreciation for what she did. She's pretty much the thing that they're all fighting from, what drives them, what gives them all their spirit. Whenever they see that and saw this woman who protected them, probably didn't even know them all that too well, and just was fully ready to sacrifice herself to do good. And they've pretty much been waiting for Homura, because they didn't want to move her until at least Homura saw, and they're going to let Homura decide what to do. But they are actually have been waiting also for a resistance against Kurenai, and now that they have Homura there, they're ready to make their move. And so one thing I'm actually very curious about these guys is, could some of them end up on the Eden Zero crew? Could they maybe not like, named main characters, but maybe like back characters? Maybe they'll be some form of like, they just kind of exist on the ship doing miscellaneous things. We run into them once in a while. Maybe. I've always kind of wondered, you had something like that where it's like, okay, you have a lot of little characters, like not so important, but we'll run into them every once in a while whenever, it's like, oh yeah, that character, I remember him. He was, he left to go be a blacksmith on the, I guess it wouldn't be a blacksmith, I don't know, weaponsmith on the Eden Zero ship after whatever, year ago, and then the character's like, we need to go see the weaponsmith, so who to see. It's kind of like a short series. Unfortunately, it got canceled in Shonen Jump. It was called Red Sprite, and that series was kind of doing something like that, because like they kind of had their own ship, but it was pretty much a mobile country, because the main character like declared it an independent nation. Lots of crazy stuff with there. Shame that series got axed. That was really interesting, but something more like that, where a character will pretty much just be like an NPC, like in a major city of a game, but in this case it'd be a mobile city. But then we get Shiki, and Shiki is now going up to Homura, who is just broken apart, sitting in front of the deceased robotic corpse of her master, and Shiki's just trying to connect with her without trying to smother her, because he relates already to this, like, because we know when Ziggy died, as well as everyone on Grand Bell, because he talks about how cool Valkyrie was as a teacher for Homura. She was very amazing, strong, cool. She sacrificed herself very selfishly, or selfish. Oh my God, I'm wording right now. Very wrong. Selfishlessly. Oh my, very very nice. I'm trying to fumble over something right now. Selflessness. Let's just go with that. And that she was obviously courageous and just a good, kind person. And what's funny is like you'd think this is like the turnaround point, but Homura like says that she's not sure she's going to be able to go on because this was part of her driving thing. This was her big moment to kind of really push past like her whole goal. Like she was going to figure out what she was going to do with Valkyrie, then maybe stay with Eden Zero, whichever she does. And she's like seems to be giving up. She seems to be breaking down, and she doesn't know if she's gonna be okay because like she doesn't know if she could deal with this again. But Shiki, knowing this, he talks about like his grandpa died and everything. That he had like all these people around to help him, and he the people of Granbell that were his friends, and now he's got more friends that helped him even when the people of Granbell kind of like all shut down. And he says that to her, and he's like, I got up when it happened to me because of it. And he's like, so you have friends, so that's why I know you're going to be able to get back up. And I really like this part because Shiki gives her words of advice, and it's with confidence, and then he leaves. He doesn't stick around. It's very much like, I know you can do this. This isn't like this is a pep talk. I know this is going to happen because I'm confident in who you are kind of thing, which I really liked. It was a good captain moment for him. And I know I don't like to do the comparisons much anymore because of I don't want Eden Zero to get always. It's obviously kind of easy to bundle them up with Rave Master and Fairy Tail because it's by the same author, but it's its own thing, and it's kind of hard to really differentiate when you're always comparing things. But it's interesting to compare certain aspects. With Haru, I think Haru would have just been more in this situation trying to kind of get on level with Homura, trying to much more talk to her personally. I think Natsu would have probably been much more kind of hot-headed over this, but very much in his own way, trying to display his emotions, but not so much as level-headed in this. And why I said level-headed is because Shiki wasn't really like as happy like as he sees in the panel when he says that she's gonna get up. Obviously, he has confidence in who she is. But when we see him walk away, Paul just points in the general direction because he can read what he's feeling, and he's obviously pointing where the Kurenai is because now Shiki's got beef. In that last panel, well, not last panel, that panel right after Paul like pretty much points to the direction that he knows that Shiki wants to go. You just see this focused scowl on Shiki's face as he's got that pinpoint lasered kind of idea in his head, and I really kind of like compared it with the other two again as well. Haru's anger was much more like the eye of a storm, where it was this kind of like calm and vicious, whereas Natsu's was where like a raging inferno. Shiki's is much more just like pinpoint lasered, like he just locks on target and he's going at he'll just go at whatever he decides at, and he won't stop until either he stopped or he feels like it's done. Like with the Liga, he was beating the dude even after he was unconscious. And I mentioned that with Natsu would have, I don't think Natsu would have been as level-headed about it. He would have been much more kind of just trying to emotionally connect and trying to kind of just like convey over, but he's not nearly as much of a talker. And with Shiki, it's a little bit different because Shiki is also, he's their captain. Natsu isn't the captain of his crew. They don't really have a leader. I mean, you could kind of look at it from the main character standpoint, like not really, because really Urza's pretty much the pseudo leader of their team. She's the most authoritative one, where Natsu is not really an authority figure, and he can give his own speeches. But this was a whole different thing because this was much more of just like him dropping that he believes in one of the members of his crew, which was very nice, a really good moment for him. And then we get back to Kurenai, who is like pretty much just like going over, right, getting ready to burn down the slums, getting her big satellite weapon ready. And she talks about how like after everything that she's done for the people of the slum district, which she's not really done anything. She just kind of like seems like a really smug bitch. I mean, when it comes to Elsie, it's like, yeah, she's a pirate. You'd expect this of her. When it came to like Labilia, she's a mean girl. She's not an evil, but she's very mean. With Kurenai, she just seems like a downright like rotten souled character. She just is rotten in so many directions. and I want Shiki to do what he's here to do. But I'm 100% on board with what a lot of people have been saying, in the hope that Drac and Joe kills her, because Shiki with killing, it seems like he'd be fine with it, given like the way he was with the league. Like I said, he was literally beating him after he was unconscious, and he only got stopped because of Pino. He probably would have beat the dude dead if it wasn't for the fact he was halted on it. I don't think he would kill Kurenai because he wants to pretty much drag her to see Homura and let Homura resolve things, and then after that, maybe, who knows. But Drac and Joe, I think the fact that she was gonna turn tail, backstab him, he would 100% kill her. We already know that. And I don't want this woman to live past this arc. I don't like her. She's not like, say, pulling over to Chainsaw Man, Makima, who's like built up as this kind of like mastermind, super vicious and vile woman. Kurenai just seems like an all-around like cunt on so many levels. But what's funny also on top of that is is his name, Nano or Nino? Nino. Sorry, I kept that guy mixed up. I got Garrett and Baku, but like Nino, for some reason I couldn't get that guy's name like is memorized. But he's like trying to be the reasonable one. Garrett's just like, listen, we do what she says. We don't argue with it. Baku doesn't seem to really care too much. I'm wondering if Nino is going to switch and maybe join Eden Zero, or maybe become like a freelance character, because the guy he's based off of is a German YouTuber that interviewed Mishima, and I'm wondering if maybe like after this he'll kind of go rogue and maybe be like some kind of freelance journalist within the Eden Zero world. Like maybe he's going around kind of like putting out stories on what's not, maybe you'll have something like a part where the governments and whatever of space are trying to cover something up, but Nino's the only one actually like telling the truth on it, kind of thing. One of those just rogue reporters, like radio stations you've seen probably in some TV shows and movies. But after that, it doesn't look like there's going to be a lot of resistance from him, at least in terms of Kurenai, and she's just kind of like going off about Valkyrie and how much she doesn't like her because the people appreciated her a lot more after what she did. And she's just like, whatever, she didn't do anything for me. I got to my spot from my own power. She just like bothered me about bringing me back to my child. But she's just like laughing because she, says that she abandoned Homura, which I'm just like, you're just making your case so much worse. You're making your case so much worse. You're turning yourself so much into like a villain that people will be 100% fine when she gets the shit kicked out of her. And then just right then, Shiki, this really sick panel overhead of just this, like zooming in, and he just busts through the window with this really good dynamic panel, the way it looked, and Shiki's just upset face as he's looking for Kurenai. And when I talked about like the reason I don't think Shiki would kill her, and even with Shiki's like laser rage, is because the fact that he specifically wants to take Kurenai to Homura to fulfill Valkyrie's last wish, and they're kind of like talking about it, and whatever happens to her after that point, it's up to Homura. So Shiki wants to leave that scenario all to her. And I'm very curious about like the last kind of areas, because he was like collapsing the floor with his ether gear, and I'm wondering if he'd be willing to take down the whole building in that process, because Shiki doesn't seem that same kind of level of, like, Haru was a much more of a classic hero. Haru was a heroic guy through and through. He fought for good, and just like literally his aspect was light. And that kind of just shone into who he was. Natsu is, the thing about like Fairy Tail Guild, and Natsu especially, is they lean good, but they are guildable above all else. They will completely turn against like good people if they're a threat to the guild. With Shiki kind of takes like that idea, but it's much more in every direction, where it's like nothing else really matters in the pursuit of doing stuff for his crew. And I'm legitimately curious if he would just drop that whole building. Like, people would die in the process, but like Shiki doesn't have the normal like human mechanics to the way he thinks for that to happen, because we know he grew up like with robots, and he's extremely awkward, doesn't get other people that much, and it just like, it wouldn't surprise me to him if like he didn't have that same level of remorse for like if people died in the fight because they weren't his friend versus the ones that are like it wouldn't. Like, in his mind, if there was some gymnastics of, like, it was, like, doesn't bother as much because it was in the pursuit of, helping somebody in his crew, one of his buddies. Like, I'm very curious to know how that aspect of the fight will go. But I want to know how this, like, in general is going to go, because it'd be weird for Kurenai to go down now because Baku, Garrett, and Nino all haven't fought yet. We all know. We know that 3 of them are strong. So maybe the fight with Kurenai will start, and then the other 3 will kind of get intercepted by other members there. Or maybe he'll switch out and then maybe fight like Garrett or Baku or something, and the one that will fight Kurenai will be switched on to Homura, which I would prefer because of obviously like much more personal between the 2 of them. And she doesn't like right now have the same thing that like I know people have compared it to like Irene and Urza. But there, when you go back and look at like Irene and Urza, there was stuff that really kind of made sense that why it turns out, you know, she actually loved her. Like the fact she protected her for centuries. She had to end up on, she had to end up in Rosemary somehow. Like she couldn't have just appeared there. She had to be safely taken there. And like the fact that we already knew Irene was crazy. Like Kurenai doesn't seem crazy. She just seems like a bad person. And she just ditched Homura. There was no, like, there doesn't seem to be anything, like, reason for her to leave her there other than to abandon her. So she doesn't have, like, that tie-in of, oh, like, these things actually was shown that she was, you know, good all along. She just kind of, like, lost her way or went crazy. You know, Kurenai just seems like a bad person. We'll find out, though, in the next one, with Chapter 60, until it turns to strength, which I'm wondering, like, that'll definitely be one of those chapters where it's, like, the title is something that Shiki's gonna say, and he's probably gonna lay down some real wisdom on Kurenai with his sick ether gear attacks. Though Kurenai does not seem weak. Like the fact she's got all these smoke coming out of her weird hand like items, I'm wondering what exactly she's about to, you know, display of her capabilities. Because the fact she's not nervous from Shiki's capabilities tells me that she not only on top of like, you know, her influence and, you know, her satellite blades and whatnot, that she herself is going to be a pretty prominent fighter. Other than that, tell me in the comment section below and what you thought about this chapter. Like, there were so many good ones to use as like the panel for this one, but I just really like this one because of the way it's presented with Shiki's face and just like his positioning in it. I think it just stands out, and I think it's just a very good defining one to really represent Shiki too. But other than that, like I said, comment below. I'd really appreciate if you thumbs up the video though, prefer the like button and the subscribe button, and check out my other videos. But that, I appreciate everyone who's already subscribed, and I thank you all for listening. Bye.